Okay, so you want to buy an auto repair shop. You've got the capital. You find a building on a busy corner, the kind with a faded sign and 3 bays that smell like motor oil and metal shavings. You sign the papers. You hire a few mechanics. And within a week, cars start rolling in. A check engine light here, a broken alternator there, a transmission that's been slipping for months. On paper, it looks like the perfect business. Cars break. They always have. They always will. Every single day, somewhere in your city, an engine stalls, a brake pad wears through, a timing belt snaps. That's not a trend. That's not a seasonal spike. That's a permanent, unavoidable fact of modern life. As long as people drive, they will need someone to fix what breaks. So the math seems obvious. Guaranteed demand plus a building full of tools equals a guaranteed paycheck. But here's the problem. The same business that looks almost impossible to fail at is also one of the easiest businesses in America to quietly go broke running. Auto repair shops open by the thousands every year, and close by the thousands too. Not because people stopped needing repairs, because owning the shop and running the shop turned out to be 2 completely different jobs. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how a repair shop actually makes money, why some owners turn a single garage into a small empire, why others burn through their savings and quietly sell at a loss, and what really separates the two. Let's start with what people never talk about first. What it actually costs to get in. Buying an auto repair shop isn't like buying a franchise where the price tag tells you the whole story. You're not just buying a garage. You're buying a building or a lease, a set of aging equipment, an inventory of parts, a customer list that may or may not still trust the place, and a reputation you didn't build. A small independent shop, 2 or 3 bays, a couple of technicians, might run you anywhere from $150,000 to $400,000 depending on the region. And that's before you've replaced a single broken lift. A mid-sized multi-bay center, the kind with 6 or 8 bays and a dedicated diagnostics room, can climb well past $1 million once you account for real estate. And a large specialized shop, say one that focuses on European imports or heavy fleet vehicles, can require millions in specialized equipment alone because a diagnostic scanner built for a BMW is not the same tool you use on a Ford pickup. And this is where things get interesting, because location doesn't just affect your rent, it rewrites your entire business model. A shop in a small town survives on loyalty, the same families bringing in the same cars for 20 years, word of mouth doing the marketing for free. A shop in a major city survives on volume and speed, competing against 5 other garages within a 2-mile radius, all fighting for the same overwhelmed commuter who just wants their car back by Friday. Same industry, completely different game. So once you're in, where does the revenue actually come from? Most people assume it's parts. Fix the car, sell the parts, keep the markup. And parts markup is real. Shops typically mark up parts anywhere from 25 to 100% depending on the item. But that's not the engine of the business. The real engine is labor. Labor is what a shop is actually selling. When a customer pays $120 an hour for a mechanic's time, that single hour might only cost the shop $25 to $40 in actual wages. That gap, the difference between what the shop charges and what it pays the technician, is where the real profit lives. Add in diagnostics, scheduled maintenance packages, specialized repairs that require certified technicians, and fleet contracts with local businesses that guarantee steady volume. And you start to see a shop that can pull in genuinely serious revenue. But here's what almost nobody explains clearly. Revenue is not profit. A shop that brings in $2 million a year in sales does not mean the owner is pocketing anything close to that. By the time you subtract wages, rent, insurance, parts costs, equipment, loans, and taxes, that same shop might be handing its owner somewhere between $150,000 and $300,000. Good money, but a fraction of the number people see on the sign out front. The revenue is the headline. The profit is the real story, and it's buried 3 layers deeper. And this is where the business starts to bite back. Start with labor, because it's the single biggest threat to profitability. A skilled technician, someone certified to work on modern electronic systems, not just an oil change kid, is genuinely hard to find. The best ones know their value, and they will leave for a $2 raise at the shop down the street. Every time a good mechanic walks out the door, the owner loses not just an employee, but months of training, institutional knowledge, and the customers who specifically trusted that person with their car. Then there's equipment. A diagnostic scanner that cost $8,000 3 years ago might already be outdated because car manufacturers update their software constantly, and a scanner that can't read a 2024 model's error codes is useless on that vehicle. Lifts need recertification. Alignment machines need calibration. None of this is optional, and none of it shows up on the sign that says, "We fix cars." But most people miss one important detail buried underneath all of that: warranty claims and comebacks. When a repair fails, and eventually some will, the shop eats the cost of doing it again for free. A single bad transmission job redone twice can wipe out the profit from a dozen oil changes. Add in rising insurance premiums, the monthly cost of scheduling and inventory software, and the constant invisible expense of simply attracting new customers in a market full of competing garages, and the picture becomes clear. The business looks simple from the outside. The real battle happens entirely behind the scenes, in the numbers nobody driving past the shop ever sees. So if the costs are brutal and the margins are thin, how does anyone actually get rich doing this? The shops that thrive don't win by fixing cars faster. They win by becoming the shop people don't shop around for. Trust is the actual product. A loyal customer doesn't call 3 garages for quotes. They call one because they've already decided who they believe. The best owners obsess over things that seem almost unrelated to mechanics: response time, honest pricing, clear communication about what actually needs fixing versus what can wait, and a reputation strong enough to survive a 5-star review section. They invest in keeping their best technicians instead of constantly replacing cheap ones. They build systems, scheduling, inventory, follow-up calls, so the shop doesn't collapse the day the owner takes a vacation, because here's the real insight: a customer isn't paying for a new alternator. They're paying for the belief that their car won't strand them on the highway next week. That's not a repair. That's confidence, sold by the hour. Behind almost every successful shop is a version of the same story. Picture someone who started as a teenager sweeping floors in a garage, learning to change oil, then brakes, then engines. Years pass. They become the technician customers specifically request by name because they explain problems in plain language instead of jargon. Eventually, they move into managing the front counter, learning the business side, ordering parts, scheduling labor, handling an angry customer whose car came back with the same noise. And one day, when the original owner retires, they buy the shop themselves. Technician to manager to owner. A slow climb built on trust, earned one repair at a time. For people who take this path, the shop is rarely just a business. It's their name on the sign, their reputation in the community, and often their family's entire income sitting on the shoulders of whether next month's cars keep coming through the bay doors. Now, the other side of the story, because plenty of owners never make it that far. The first mistake is buying a shop without actually understanding its numbers, trusting the seller's word on revenue instead of digging into real financials. The second is depending too heavily on 1 or 2 star mechanics, so that when they leave, half the shop's capability walks out with them. The third is ignoring the customer experience entirely, treating people like a queue of cars instead of relationships to protect. The fourth is underpricing labor to win customers on price, a trap that quietly bleeds the business dry month after month. And the fifth, increasingly common mistake, is failing to adapt to what modern vehicles actually require. Because a repair shop today is not the business it was 20 years ago. Modern cars are rolling computers. They demand software updates, electronic diagnostics, and technicians who understand systems that didn't exist a decade ago. A shop still running like it's 2005 isn't just outdated. It's actively turning away half the cars on the road. Let's put real numbers on the table. Picture a small, well-run shop. 3 bays, 4 technicians, strong local reputation. Annual revenue around $900,000. After wages, parts, rent, insurance, and equipment costs, the owner walks away with somewhere around $120,000, to $160,000 a year. Solid, dependable, built on decades of trust in one neighborhood. Now picture a larger repair center. 8 bays, 12 employees, fleet contracts with local delivery companies. Revenue climbs to $3 million a year. Impressive on paper, but the expenses climb just as fast. More payroll, more insurance, more equipment, more complexity to manage. After everything, the owner might keep $300,000 to $450,000. More total money, but a smaller percentage of every dollar that walked through the door, and a far more complicated business to hold together. The biggest mistake people make when they imagine owning a shop is confusing sales with wealth. The owner doesn't get rich because more cars pull into the lot. The owner gets rich because the business behind those cars is actually managed correctly. The labor rates are right, the technicians stay, the comebacks are rare, and the trust never breaks. So, would you actually buy the shop? Here's the truth underneath everything we've covered. An auto repair shop is not simply a place where broken cars get fixed. It's a business built entirely on trust, on skilled people who are hard to keep, and on a reputation that takes years to build and one bad repair to damage. The lifts, the diagnostic machines, the building itself. None of that is the real asset. The real asset is the relationship between the shop and every customer who hands over the keys to one of the most expensive, most necessary things they own, trusting that it will come back running. So here's the question worth sitting with. Would you rather own a business that sells a product people want, or a business that solves a problem people cannot avoid?